Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. With the early Modern Warfare 2 tournaments going one way or another, certain POVs already looking a little bit different to what Shotzzy taking down the entire FaZe lineup in an ace last night and knocked them out of a tournament. Maybe a sign of things to come for this season. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Plenty to dive into today as always. Firstly, this dimension because it still is unfortunately the case that scanner repair is prevalent all across the park. Doesn't matter what you do, scanner repair will arrive. I have no idea how they haven't fixed this over the last few years. Some were saying that it's because if you've got a clan tag in private matches, then it happens, but I think it still happens sometimes anyway, so I don't know if you guys have been playing around with it and trying to get this fixed, but yeah, it's not pretty and Clay isn't so happy about it. Quick confirmation here of what Iron Blood's gaming roster is going to be. Yes, Dan, Ghosty, Pentagram, and Gunless Bristini, that is the team of 4. Gunless, we believe, in order to have actually done this, we believe he wants to live in New Jersey and all this. We think he's probably had to get a spot as a substitute somewhere, because if he hasn't, then, you know, how does he have the visa? And that was his big concern about a month or so ago. Pristini, we also don't know where he's going to be. Of course, he is American, not Canadian, as Gunless is, so we can send the US anyway. But, you know, Pristini was the FaZe sub last season, subbed in for them briefly. There was some talks about, okay, could he potentially be the LAG sub just because they've got Arcitys over there now? But it seems like Joe Deceives is going to be that guy. So, yeah, definitely some questions still to be answered in terms of where these guys are going to land in terms of sub spots, but this is a team for challengers, and Gunless, we'll talk about him more in a second because managed to win this 7k tourney at the end of the day. Just to notice this as well, because I know some people were talking about this, that the former UI director, like the user interface at Hulu, is now doing it for Infinity Ward. So it really is no surprise that, I mean, like, this looks so bad, it's incredible how they actually thought this was a good idea, but yeah, just to let you guys know exactly why it's been designed the way it has, and yeah, it's not pretty. I don't know why they can't just go back to the old days, but for some reason they hired this guy, and yeah, fantastic stuff. Quick talking point on the best gun in the game right now, because from what I was watching last night, it's relatively clear which, well, is the most prevalent weapon. Now, Jago kind of does his perspective here on what the best guns are. To me, this is the thing, in my opinion, with having so many attachments on the weapons, is that the 74U, the cast-off 74U, basically the AK-74U, it should be an SMG. It looks like an SMG, but I think it's classified as an AR, but you can put certain attachments on it to make it behave like an SMG, and therefore it's basically the do-it-all, right? You put the attachments on to make it an SMG, you can put some other attachments on to make it an AR, and it just seems like the most dominant weapon. So that is pretty much the SMG that everyone's using right now, and there is some other weapons that are viable, the M4, also the SCAR, I think that's maybe the TAC or whatever here, the TAQ, that's what I saw Crim using a fair bit, and that seems to be pretty good as well. So yeah, it's interesting, the AR meta does seem to be pretty competitive, but the SMG is, like, the only viable sub right now is just the 74U, which for some reason is classified as an AR, and then you just turn it into a sub. That seems to be what everyone's doing. So I wonder if that's going to get GA'd. This is kind of some analysis here on average time to kill, but of course this doesn't really tell the whole story, and all of this can change a lot with attachments and different combinations and all that. But yes, a lot of cast-off weapons that seem potentially viable, and some are viable, some maybe are not viable. But again, that 74U seems deadly with the right attachment combinations. So I wonder if that's going to get GA'd, because obviously I was watching them Charles last night, and pretty much there were 7, 8 of these 74Us on the map at times. Crim and others have used the ARs to good effect, and I do think there is the possibility here for a pretty good and competitive meta with many different guns being viable, because everything kills pretty quick. So there's going to be a lot of viable weapons, but from the SMG side, I definitely think there's still some questions to be raised there, because right now they're not even using an SMG as the primary SMG, at least from what I was seeing last night. This is another thing to note on the snipers I wanted to talk about, because, I mean, yeah, look at this from Clay, the collateral headshot, beautiful stuff. But yeah, the snipers so far are looking rather good. There's some aim assist. They seem, I mean, obviously the zoom is pretty good. They've got the nice little red dot right there in the middle as well to help you aim even more than already you can. And yeah, Clay and others have been hitting some nice shots. Will the snipers be considered too strong by the pros? We saw in Cold War the pros GA'd the snipers because they thought they were too strong, had aim assist, all that. Last year in Vanguard, they weren't going to keep doing that, but then after we forced them to keep doing it before Major 1 and tried at the kickoff, then, well, they actually decided, you know what, the snipers aren't actually that strong. So we'll see what they come up with this year, but still, even though snipers are strong, will we be seeing more than one per team per map? And if we're not, then they're probably not actually that strong, all things considered. That, of course, being over there on the, well, Crown Raceway map. Now, this also to note, because Rambo Ray was playing with none other than analyst JP. Now, unfortunately, I can't verify which JP this is, because there's two JPs. one of which, as Kels points out, it was JP Digits. This is, well, he's analyst for the Paris, I guess now Vegas Legion. So he kind of came on the scene over the last 12 months or so. But JP Krez is the other one of note. He's the old school MLG, COD stats, CWL stats guy, and then has been on New York as their analyst for a couple of years. That was the very early rumor and discussion that OpTic were trying to get JP as their replacement for Cinder to some degree or another, and that being JP Krez, not JP Digits. And spotted last night Rambo was playing with JP, but having not watched the stream, I can't guarantee which was actually which. But if it was JP Krez, then that's probably indicative, and even if it wasn't, there's still a decent likelihood that's going on there, because Rambo even confirmed the other day that indeed they have got their eyes on analyst, and either they've signed the deal or whatever, and something's getting sorted over the coming days and weeks. Because look, the game is now out. I'm sure they've got people behind the scenes working, because scrims are already going to start getting ready to go, right? And we'll see this later today that some scrims have already been happening, and well, usually they take a few weeks before scrims begin, but already the pros have to get into it because the season starts in about a month or so, which is well, honestly pretty exciting. Let's talk about some of these tourneys. David Garbabala has been playing in a few of them. This I thought was pretty funny, because there's certain things that you can fire through, but grenades won't go through them. Like these barricades right here, obviously he chucks the stun through, and you're thinking, okay, the stun goes through, fantastic, but the nade doesn't want to go through, bounces back and kill him. I mean, yeah, that just kind of sums up his first day of tournament action. Now, this was also pretty funny here. Cellium, he fell asleep with his head tilted, it seems, before the grand finals. This is how it goes when you're playing all night through all these tournaments. Honestly, pretty funny. I guess I'll just have to share a few seconds of this. I'll turn the volume down so the volume warning isn't so extreme, but it's pretty funny because, yeah, they go to try to wake him up here ahead of the grand finals up against Vegas, and in the end, they actually won this tournament phase despite Cellium being half asleep.
Bro, let me mute my stream, boys. I'll be right back. Whoa! Whoa, what the fuck? Oh my god, bro. Holy shit. Bro. Yes! No way! Holy MC! Shit. It worked, dude! MC, he's alive! He's alive! Wait.
We're back.
MC's back! Join up!
Bro, that actually just scared the f out of me, bro.
Alright, well, get the f in here, man.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
So he was asleep. I knew it. I knew it. I'm surprised
we got him.
Wait, I'm surprised that woke him up.
So that was one of the first big tournaments there, 4v4, $3,000 COD agent champs with Cell, aBeZy, Simp, of course, and Slasher & Co. That the new FaZe team. There's been various teams winning tournaments so far. Vegas, of course, won a fair few already, but FaZe, as you might expect, still getting their hat in the ring as well in terms of being one of the better teams in the early online performances. And even aBeZy tweets this out. Atlanta FaZe wins first Modern Warfare 2 tourney versus Vegas Legion. Clay says it's not the first, because I think they might have won the first Vegas. And, you know, he says our first. And yeah, just joking around between these. So hopefully we get some good battles, right? Because Vegas, on paper, they don't have the most spectacular team, but they can be a great search and destroy force. And if that's the case, then that could be a pretty big deal this season. 2, 3, 5, and all that jazz. So, well, let's talk about this $7,000 tourney that was going on. This I thought was pretty funny here. I was watching Crim. I think it was, maybe it was a one and done, or not exactly sure what was going on, but I saw it was aPeZy, Crim, Slacktons, and Co were playing in this tournament. They lost to Joe Thieves. They got pretty much smoked on a Crown Raceway search and destroy. And I really want to like that Crown Raceway, like search and destroy F1 map, right? But it's so one-dimensional for search. It's like, I really wish it was designed, or the A-bomb site was somewhere different. I'll talk about it a little bit more later today, because I think it should be way better than it actually is. But, well, also later on in this tournament, Shotzzy and Co were playing up against FaZe. So this is always an exciting one. The entire FaZe team were playing, not as yet the entire OpTic team playing together, right? Of course, like most of the guys are about, but Scump isn't quite ready to go yet. We will see in a second that Scump was actually playing the game at home, but I think he was just playing pubs or whatever. So in due course, he's going to get into action. His kind of first tournament, I suppose, since he officially confirmed that this will be his final season competing in professional Call of Duty. But yeah, Shotzzy was playing up against these FaZe guys, and this was the particular clip. This over at Farm 18. Maybe not the best map in the world, but certainly I think a lot of these maps suit Shotzzy kind of nicely. I mean, the way he can move around these maps and kind of take advantage of all the line of sight and the jump spots and everything is pretty impressive. And Shotzzy is just absolutely moving around the map here and taking names and taking down the entire FaZe team here and knocking the FaZe guys clean out of the tourney.
Yeah, but look at my gamer tag though.
I like that. Why did you do that?
Nothing roof.
Nice jump.
I don't see shot. Yeah, I think it might be a B.
Nothing top third. I B side, nice.
Back B.
Yeah, some B.
Back B. He's going like they're back mid.
He's ban tires under.
Tires.
Tires. Yeah, on the front.
Tires, bro.
I can't mark it.
Tire's still there. Tire's still there.
I'm netting him. Hold up, give me a second here. I'm
I'm
netting
chilling.
him.
I'm chilling. I'm chilling. I'm
There's
chilling.
no
I'll
spawn
stun it
roof,
for you. Receive. I'll stun it for you.
Spawn roof.
Watch out.
He's on
Where?
tire on tire. Side on you.
Yeah, watch out. I'm winning.
Alright.
Yo, look at my gamer tag though, Byron.
I like that. Yeah, what? You're good, bro.
So he wasn't playing with Dashy here, but he was playing with iLLeY, I believe Prolute also, and maybe Blastful as well. He's obviously making his return, and Dashy's already looking at his thing and singing down. This guy's looking pretty good. So there are a few POVs already that look pretty good to watch. Certainly from an SMG perspective, Shotzzy's always going to be good fun. And there are so many, like especially the Embassy map. I think there's so many really cool jump spots on that one over towards, I think it's the A bomb site. There's like a roof over there that you can hop on top of one thing and hop on top of the other thing. There's going to be some cool stuff that Shotzzy can do in this game. There's no doubt about it. And already he's, well, pretty good to watch. So that's the question really going into this game with no advanced movement necessarily. How is it really going to work for players that are very movement focused like Shotzzy? But still, I mean, look, obviously if you watch this gameplay, it's not quite advanced warfare or whatever in terms of what you can do. But you can still jump around. You can still like dolphin dive, obviously. You can still drop shot to the floor. And the sprint out time obviously isn't great, but you still can get caught sprinting and win a gunfight. It's not an absolute disaster compared to what maybe I was expecting. So I don't know. The game looks slightly more promising to me, I think, so far than maybe I was expecting it to be, and still the dead silence thing I think is a key concern, but Shotzzy's making plays as you may well expect already. Now in the end, Simp of course goes down to Shotzzy and the guys. Of course FaZe still looking rather good, we'll see that later on today, but Shotzzy already looking pretty good, and the team that wins the tourney is actually Phantom's team with Gunless, Yeez and Rex. The $7,000 GB S&D kickoff goes to them, so plenty of kickoffs going on right now, but as I say, over the coming days we'll start to get a little bit more scrim action going on, and already we have some scrim results coming through from last night. But as I say, there are some other weapons that are viable. Like, I don't exactly know what the gun is here that Dashy is using, but a nice little, well, 3-piece here he gets to close out this particular round. So yeah, the SMG that we just saw Shotzzy use, the 74U converted to the SMG, that is pretty much the thing to do. Okay, this is the TAQ. This is effectively the SCAR. I think Crim was using it at times without the, he was using it without the red dot on it. So, and this is of course the M4. So yeah, I don't know. There are some viable ARs in this game. Definitely intrigued to your thoughts on this one so far. And yeah, nice little play here from Dashy with 10 seconds on the clock to get the kill and get the defuse as well. CMG also gets taken down, and I think he wasn't so happy about that one in the replies as well. Just to mention this from Merc as well, I thought fantastic news that his baby boy was born yesterday, so congratulations to Merc, his wife and the entire family over there. And yeah, so good stuff. I actually thought maybe that the due date was a little bit later, just because there was some talk about Merc potentially missing the first events because of you know, his baby was getting born and it was kind of unclear whether he was going to be able to go to the first event. And in fairness, you know, paternity leave and all that type of stuff. So yeah, I wonder if Merc's going to be back for Major 1, but in fairness, Major 1 is 15th to the 18th, I think, of December, so it's a good 6 weeks or so from now. So you'd think that Merc and Maven can be there in business, because there were some questions about whether Merc and Maven would be there as a card-sing pair, and also whether the contract even gets signed, because usually with Maven and Merc, it's very much last minute every single season whether they even come back as casters, which thankfully they did for the last season, but only for the major events, which you might think would be the same thing again. And Maven said that if Merc isn't there, then Maven might just be hosting the desk or something, because maybe that's still a role that needs to be fleshed out as well. So really cool news, I thought. And just to mention this before we close out here from none other than OpTic Scumpy, he says, my bad, because he was actually playing at Modern Warfare 2 last night on his setup at home, but he didn't turn the stream on. Maybe he didn't want to, or it was a bit late or whatever. But he actually got a nuke, so pretty funny. Like, he gets his first nuke here. It's not called a nuke in this game, the mass guided bombs or whatever, but it effectively does the same thing. I don't know if it's a 25 or a 30 kill streak, but Scump gets it with the MP7, which might be one of the viable SMGs. If that 74U gets GA'd, the MP7 will be a lot of fun to use. I'm guessing this is the MP7, it certainly looks like it. And yeah, here's Scump in his setup right here in the darkness, not streaming, but still getting a nuke regardless. And he turned on the broadcast, or didn't turn on the broadcast, but he just recorded the last few seconds of this, just so everyone could see it. But hopefully Scump will be back on stream in the coming days, playing some tourneys as well. It'd be good to see what his POV looks like as well. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.